something for ya.
Wind strike.
Light up the blazing sun! Try and stop! The hunt is on! Quick as a flash! On my mark! This'll pack a punch.
Wind strike.
Rise with the sun!
A general mainstay on this channel is of course the wonderful Aloy, the collaboration character from Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, and someone that I tend to use quite a lot to the point where I don't have Risley because every time I feel like playing Risley, I'm just simply feeling like playing Aloy. And so because Aloy is an attack scaling character, naturally the big question is, can you use Iansan with Aloy? Well, here we are with Aloy and the Meltloy team that I have described in the past, and we have Iansan on this team. And as you can already see from the intro footage, yeah, you can definitely use Aloy with Iansan. It totally works. It's a little bit finicky, but to be honest, that's kind of par for the course when it comes to a lot of Aloy teams. So as long as you get past it, yeah, it's a team that actually works. So what I've noticed is that if you were to play Meltloy with Iansan, you basically have to treat Iansan the same way that you would treat Xilonen in a team like this. So we would start off with a charge attack, scroll buff, and then we just start going ham. Having C6 Iansan for that extra duration at that point becomes super duper helpful. And as you can see, tons and tons of damage right there. We do in fact like that.
Ever seen one of these?
You could potentially chuck grenades into Iansan, but it's probably going to be a little bit tricky to get that good old-fashioned scroll buff like so. But either way, as you can see, this kind of team still ends up allowing us to do quite a lot of damage with Aloy and of course with Mavuika, because like I've demonstrated and like I have discussed with regards to this particular team, we're basically playing double carry. We're not only getting a giant nuke from Mavuika by having that melt damage, but we're also getting a giant nuke and also some fat normal attacks from Aloy with regards to her melt damage. So yeah, it's actually really, really satisfying. And so the big question, of course, is whether or not Xilonen is a better healer for this team as opposed to Iansan. And what seems to be the case with C1 Xilonen, mind you, versus C6 Iansan, by the way, is that at the very least, whilst Xilonen has an advantage of course, being a much better healer than Iansan, because Xilonen can heal upwards of 10,000 HP depending on how much defense you have on her build, it seems like the buff that you get from a C1 Xilonen doesn't seem to compare as well to the attack buff and potentially even the damage percent buff that you get from C6 Iansan. And so definitely if you're looking for more damage, then C6 Iansan seems to be the way. I will of course have a look again very, very soon when I get C2 Xilonen to see what kind of damage increase I can get from that and whether or not C2 Xilonen will end up surpassing C6 Iansan. Of course, do keep in mind I'm not actually going for C2 Xilonen because I need more damage. I'm going for C2 Xilonen because I think that Electro buff is really, really interesting. But that's beside the point. Bottom line is, as far as I can tell, the attack buff from Iansan, and as well as the small damage buff that you could potentially get for 3 seconds from Iansan, actually works out really well. And then on top of that, having that C4 buff seems to make a pretty big difference with regards to making sure that you can at least maintain Iansan's buff meter above that 42 Nightsoul mark, at least so that you can go through all of Aloy's damage while still having the maximum attack buff. So that, in my opinion, is really, really cool. Let me just leave all of this in the comments below. You could use Sucrose instead of Kazuha in this team and you get an EM buff as well. That's entirely up to you. Although I think at this point, since I do have an attack buff coming from Iansan and I'm running an EM stand on my Aloy build, the Sucrose buff is probably not super duper important anymore, being of course the EM share, and so having that damage percent buff plus the better and dare I say easier a bomblet grouping from Kazuha ends up being a little bit better. So definitely this is one of those teams where Kazuha would actually be useful as opposed to Xilonen in this regard. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Genshin Impact action, and until next time, I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.
This is a new one.